Tia Mowry breaks down over men not loving her after divorce and is desperate for a new relationship. Tia Mowry's face always seems to carry a smile for the world, but inside, she is going through a chapter of life that only she truly understands. The period after her divorce has been incredibly challenging. When people see her success and fame, it looks like everything is perfect, but her real life tells a very different story. Tia often asks herself, is it really impossible for someone like me, successful and independent, to find love? This question lingers in her mind constantly, and sometimes the weight of it becomes too much, making her cry in private. She realizes that fame and money can only offer a certain kind of comfort. They cannot replace genuine companionship or emotional connection. Every night, she wonders if she could ever matter to someone again, or if she is destined to remain a name from the past in someone else's life. This phase is emotionally exhausting for her, yet it marks the beginning of a journey where she begins to understand and accept her vulnerability. This is the moment where Tia's story truly begins, revealing the depth of her feelings, her struggles, and the emotional journey ahead. After her divorce, Tia often reflects on her past marriage, trying to make sense of how things fell apart. In public, she had always appeared as the picture of happiness, the perfect wife and mother, but behind closed doors, there were challenges she could not ignore. The relationship had slowly drifted apart. Small misunderstandings became bigger arguments. Busy schedules and constant pressures created distance. And over time, the love that once felt effortless now seemed fragile. Tia loved deeply, but she began to feel unappreciated and unseen, as if her efforts and sacrifices didn't matter. Despite the heartbreak, Tia's life carried on. She focused on her career, her family, and her public image, giving the impression that everything was normal. But the truth was, every new day reminded her of what she had lost. Not just a partner, but the hope of unconditional love and companionship. Friends and family noticed her struggles and offered support, but even with their encouragement, Tia sometimes felt isolated, as if no one could truly understand her loneliness. On top of that, society added its own pressures. She was a successful, independent woman, yet being single seemed to carry a stigma, and she often felt judged for her divorce and her search for love. This stage of Tia's life is crucial to understanding her emotional journey. It's a time of reflection, heartbreak, and self-discovery, where she begins to face not only the loss of her past relationship, but also the daunting challenge of finding someone who can truly appreciate her for who she is now. These moments set the stage for the struggles, frustrations, and eventual growth that will follow in her story. As Tia tries to step back into the world of dating, she begins to notice a pattern that slowly chips away at her confidence. Men she meets initially seem interested, charming, and attentive. But as soon as they learn about her past, her independence, or her success, their interest fades. It's confusing and painful for her. She wonders why her achievements and the life she has built, which should be admired, instead seem to intimidate potential partners. Each failed connection leaves her questioning herself, her worth, and even her ability to find love again. These experiences are emotionally draining. Tia often goes on dates that start with hope but end in disappointment, where conversations feel forced or her companions seem distant and distracted. Sometimes, she catches subtle hints, comments, or gestures that make her feel judged for being strong, ambitious, or self-sufficient. In quiet moments, she asks herself, am I asking for too much? Or, do people just not see the real me? The internal conflict grows. She wants a meaningful connection, but every encounter reminds her of the obstacles standing in her way. This stage of her journey highlights not only the frustration of dating after divorce, but also the societal expectations and misconceptions about successful women. It's a battle between hope and heartbreak, and Tia begins to realize that finding someone who truly understands and loves her for who she is will not be easy. Her struggle becomes relatable to anyone who has faced rejection or felt invisible despite their worth, deepening the emotional connection between her story and the audience. Eventually, the weight of repeated disappointments becomes too much for Tia to bear. In the quiet of her home, away from the cameras and public eye, she allows herself to fully feel the heartbreak she has been carrying. Tears stream down her face as she journals her thoughts, trying to make sense of the emptiness she feels. She reflects on every failed connection, every moment where she believed someone might truly see her, only to be let down again. The desperation is not just for love, it is for acceptance, for someone to appreciate her completely, flaws and all, without fear or hesitation. Tia begins to question herself more deeply than ever before. She wonders if her independence is a barrier, if her past marriage somehow made her less worthy, or if true love is something she may never experience again. She talks to close friends and a trusted therapist, opening up in ways she had avoided for fear of seeming weak. Through these conversations, her vulnerability comes to the surface, her fear of being alone, her longing for emotional intimacy, and her internal struggle between hope and despair. Each breakdown, though painful, also forces her to confront truths about herself. The desire for love is natural, and her feelings are valid, no matter how difficult they feel to process. This is the most raw and human part of Tia's journey. The desperation, the tears, and the self-doubt make her story relatable to anyone who has faced rejection, loneliness, or the challenge of starting over. It is a turning point where her vulnerability is exposed, creating a deep emotional connection with the audience and setting the stage for the next chapter, the struggle to move forward and find hope in the midst of heartbreak. After months of heartbreak and self-reflection, Tia begins to slowly pick herself up and try again. She decides that despite the pain of past rejections, she cannot let fear control her life or her desire for love. With cautious optimism, she starts exploring new ways to meet people, online dating, social events, and even casual meetups with friends, introducing her to new faces. Each attempt comes with its own mix of hope and anxiety, as she wonders whether she will finally meet someone who truly understands her, or if yet another disappointment awaits. The journey is far from smooth. Some encounters are awkward, leaving her feeling uncertain and frustrated. Others show sparks of connection that quickly fizzle, reminding her of how fragile human relationships can be. Despite these setbacks, Tia refuses to give up. She learns to pace herself, to not let failed dates define her worth, and to keep her expectations realistic while still staying open to the possibility of love. Through this effort, she begins to rebuild her confidence and gain clarity about what she truly wants in a partner, someone who appreciates her independence, supports her dreams, and values her for the person she is today. This stage of her story highlights resilience and self-discovery. While Tia still longs for love, she also begins to recognize that the journey itself teaches her about patience, self-respect, and understanding her own needs. The hope she clings to is now tempered with wisdom, making her story relatable, inspiring, and emotionally engaging for anyone who has faced similar struggles after heartbreak. Over time, Tia begins to realize that the love she has been seeking from others must first come from within herself. She starts focusing more on her passions, her career, and her friendships, finding fulfillment in areas of life that bring her joy beyond romantic relationships. This doesn't mean she has given up on love. Rather, she understands that her worth is not defined by anyone else's acceptance or affection. In quiet moments, she reflects on her journey, the heartbreak, the tears, the desperation, and recognizes how much she has grown. She feels stronger, more self-aware, and more resilient than ever before. Tia's story closes with a sense of cautious optimism. She knows that love may still come her way, but she no longer feels desperate or incomplete without it. Her focus on self-love allows her to approach relationships in a healthier, more confident way, appreciating her own value and setting boundaries that protect her heart. The emotional journey she has experienced becomes a source of strength, a reminder that even in moments of vulnerability and despair, growth and hope are possible. Her story resonates because it reflects a universal truth. True happiness begins with accepting and loving yourself first, and only then can one fully welcome the love of others. After months of heartbreak, failed connections, and emotional exhaustion, Tia slowly begins to understand one of the most important truths. True happiness and love start from within. She spends more time reconnecting with herself, rediscovering hobbies and passions she had set aside, strengthening bonds with close friends who had always supported her, and focusing on her career in ways that bring genuine fulfillment. These moments of self-care are quiet but powerful, allowing her to rebuild confidence and find joy in her own company. Tia begins to see that her value isn't measured by someone else's affection, and that being alone doesn't make her incomplete. Even as she opens herself up to the possibility of romance again, she does so with wisdom and patience. Tia now approaches dating with clearer boundaries, knowing exactly what she deserves and refusing to settle for less. She reflects on her journey, the tears, the frustrations, and the moments of desperation, and realizes how much she has grown emotionally. Where she once felt invisible and desperate for validation, she now carries a quiet strength and calm optimism. The experiences that once left her feeling broken now serve as lessons in resilience, teaching her that vulnerability is not weakness but a bridge to true connection. Tia's story closes with hope, but not the desperate hope of someone searching for love to fill a void. Instead, it is a grounded hope, rooted in self-awareness and acceptance. She understands that love may come again, but even if it doesn't, she has learned to cherish her own worth, her accomplishments, and the life she has created. The audience is left with a profound message. Love is important, but it is never more powerful or lasting than the love you give to yourself. Tia's journey resonates because it reflects a universal truth. Through heartbreak, disappointment, and the search for connection, growth, self-respect, and resilience are the true victories of life.